Anything you got camels on? Your camel shorts?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Pete. Hi, Pete. Morning, Jamie. Thanks for coming.
Morning, Pete.
Today we're gonna have an exercise, not exercise, but an exercise. But our topic today is called keeping the rope tight. So I'll just read you the definition. If you keep the rope tight in your business, you'll start to notice things that are out of place. In a workplace, keeping high standards in process and cleanliness, it will keep clear when something isn't up to standard. The idea of the rope being cut is a standard that's not being followed. So I need some volunteers. Oh, wait, no, I don't. I will, but first of all, let's do some shout outs. I don't think we've done that in a little bit. So who has something to shout out about? Not you, Lee. Anybody else? Lee, go ahead.
I just want to give a shout out to Travis. So he's got a pretty tall order over there in Powder Coat, and I got the opportunity to start working with him a little bit this week, and it's just really cool, man, to see you have a great attitude and super motivated about what's going on. So he's knocking out a lot of stuff over there, and it's really cool to see. So.
I think that back up to Lee for being a big help over there.
I think they planned this.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Good job, Lee.
Well, Lee's all right. Good job.
Shout out to all the new meeting volunteers. A lot.
Yeah.
Thanks for not calling me the vote volunteer. Appreciate it.
I'm gonna shout out to Cole for jumping into aluminum and being receptive to learning new techniques and new stuff.
That thing looks dope too, so.
Oh, go ahead. I got the shout out. No, me. Sorry. I got to shout out Bryce and Jamie for helping me out with my video the other day.
I think
Not a big warm to them, so.
I think that's probably the first time I've seen them in skirts. You know?
Yeah, so.
Well, join me Saturday.
My first time for it.
Ryan.
I got a two-part shout out. And this was an eavesdropping shout out, by the way. So as I was working on the cart here for the morning meeting, I overheard a conversation between Tim and Nate. And Tim was praising Nate for finding a problem. Nate had identified an issue and caught it before we shipped it. So shout out to Nate for identifying that.
Yeah.
And also shout out to Tim. Because the way he handled himself, and that was very cool. I mean, he was calm, cool. It was like,
Hell yeah.
it was good.
And get his eyes fixed.
Good job, guys. And Tim got his eyes fixed.
Shout out to Ryan, we finally got it for years.
Anyone else before Kevin?
He's got a staff.
Kevin.
Shout out to Corey Giving. He won his first credit card dispute last week.
Oh,
It was a fight that we fight and barely ever win. So.
Hang on, he won his first credit card victory for us. Like he's still losing all of the ones in his normal life.
I want to shout out Bradshaw because he keeps finding stuff that we don't even know bothers us in shed tech, and it keeps labeling stuff and fixing stuff that we just kind of deal with and walk by, and it's like stuff over there is a lot easier to find even for people who know where it is. So
Nice job, Kevin.
Good job.
All right. Next,
You gotta fix that stuff.
Uh-huh.
I don't like that at all.
I need
Oh,
some
that makes you fail. I don't like that.
volunteers.
How many do you need?
I'm just gonna go with 4.
All right.
You hear something? Look at hey, George here.
Yeah, you
Ben,
I'm halfway
you getting
there.
all, you only bringing tall people?
I'm not going.
Come on, anyone else?
I'm chocolate. I'm just gonna walk on board, right?
I'll do it.
All right. You got stopped on, he stomped on you.
What did he stomp on?
I feel. Yeah.
Do it then.
All right. I want you guys to, 2 of you to stand on that yellow line or near it, and 2 of you to stand on that yellow line right here. Okay, these were, Brian got these ropes out of Japan, and that is a Japanese knot.
It's like a regular knot.
It is not.
It is not.
Wait until it only gets like right there.
I thought it was a booger, but it's not.
Ben, I want you to hold that really tight.
Come on, tight.
This is limp. He just wants to show off his limbo skills.
Alright, lower.
Well, all right, lower now.
Done? Bryce, come on, forward a little more.
Two fingers.
Stand right there. Yours is not gonna be tight,
Oh,
okay?
Don't throw.
I can see how this will go.
I feel a little more confident now.
All right, the next thing that you guys as volunteers need to do is close your eyes. Close them.
Trust issues.
I know you do. That's me.
Okay.
Somebody else needs to hold their hand over their eyes so that they can't be.
That
Dude, I don't know if we can trust you still. All right. So, whoa, rope is moving and it's messing me up. All right, I want you guys to not say a word. Nobody else say a word. Don't tell them what's gonna happen. But make note mentally
feel it.
if you feel something happen, make a mental note. Don't say anything.
Okay.
All right, you can open your eyes now. Did you guys know anything happened?
Nope.
No?
I definitely.
You didn't even hear it when Jamie was yelling at you?
I do, so this, I do.
You wrote a lot of out. All
I
right,
knew this other company was having a type of figure out a problem.
you can actually, let me put it that way, it's not in the inventory.
Wrong button.
Have that as a
Can you
souvenir.
teach me that later? That's so interesting. There's a whole.
It doesn't translate easily, Jamie.
You can try. Oh, Ben's gonna braid this. I don't know what he's got.
Exactly 6 foot, that's pretty good.
All right, you guys are all finished up. You can keep your ropes as a reminder of what you're learning today. So we're gonna watch a quick little video. And oops, we're gonna watch a quick little video.
In this video, we're going to show you a wonderful visual demonstration of keeping a rope tight. So enjoy it. But when we say keep the rope tight, obviously we've got to maintain a high standard. And if the rope's not tight, you don't really know what's going on. You like to hold it. What I need you to do, you keep this one slack like that. You keep your one tight. And then the next thing I need you to do, if you
I did.
Technology.
We allotted enough time for even buffering to happen, so it should be fine.
video, we're going to show you a wonderful visual demonstration.
It's just not gonna go.
Video, we're going to show you a wonderful visual demonstration of keeping a rope tight. So
You can skip it. This is the audio version of the video representation. So it's different. All right, so I had my first slide and I know everyone paid close attention. What is the meaning of keeping the rope tight? Just go ahead by raise of hands and let me know.
I kind of get an idea.
All right, no, go ahead, Brian.
Maintaining the standards.
Not Brian. Let's see how he did. It's keeping it to high standards in processes and cleanliness. So when that rope is tight, you have a standard. And then what's the meaning of cutting the rope?
You can feel when something's off.
All right, very good. It's good. Anyone else? Jen? Okay. So The idea of the rope being cut refers to the standard not being followed. So exactly what Jamie said. It's like he knew.
It's like I was there.
It's like you were there.
Standard.
So think about our shot. What are the benefits of maintaining that standard, keeping that rope tight?
Probably all the things we've covered in subsequent meetings, minimizing and eliminating all the waste in the process and
Better flow.
Getting rid of excess inventory and stuff.
Okay.
Easier
How are
to
those
identify.
benefits though?
Better customer experience.
Better customer experience. Who's that customer?
Better flow through your workday so you can get stuff done easier. Or staff. If something's out of place, you're like, okay, I need to remember to put that back where it goes. So I can find it within 10 seconds.
I think the person who probably benefits the most, what you're trying to get at, is the next person in line, right? If we all keep the rope tight within our own areas, the next person that we're handing that product to, be it manufacturing from machining, fab from machining, the next person is going to be able to keep their rope tight as well, because they're able to follow their processes on a product that is not defective in any way.
Okay.
It probably also highlight areas that we should improve upon. If we're keeping our rope as tight as we can, but we're still finding slack, then we can focus on where the slacks.
How many of you remember what this place looked like even a month ago?
Nobody does, Pete.
I do.
It was crazy. I mean, we have a new standard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the standard is still continuing to refine and it's still continuing, but it's hard to even remember, so don't even try. So the benefits of keeping that rope tight are huge. How many of you appreciate the standards that we're using? It's an improvement, isn't it? Like in the back room, Casey does. All right. Your department, other departments, as Chris was saying, are quality. No one really brought that up, but we have a standard of quality. And then we're checking that quality along the way. And then who ultimately benefits from that? Our customers, whether they're internal customers or external customers, but ultimately our name will improve. Our posts on issues will go down. We'll see a lot of overall our quality is going to improve. People that walk through here, and I'm sure you've noticed that already. It's like, wow, it is different. It's huge. I walked through yesterday to take some pictures and it's just like, this is a totally different place than it was. All right. I went around yesterday and I took some pictures of different things. I asked people, what's your impression? What have you noticed the most? So I'm gonna call on these people to explain what I'm looking at here. So Brian, tell me about this.
I mentioned it when Kirsten first started, a week ago, she started working here, and we've got these QR codes that we're starting to add to equipment, to machines, and her first day, she could just scan that, and she could follow the standard of how to make boxes. And she was able to print, I was looking over her shoulder, but I didn't have to help her out at all. She could just follow the steps. And the standard's established.
It's
Easy.
It's always the same unless it needs refined,
Exactly.
but everyone's gonna learn the same way. We're all gonna do it the same way, which is different than, I think, Monty, you were talking about the brake press. And you had a 10-minute lesson from Casey and then it was kind of like, figure it out. That's, the standard is whatever you make it at that point. It isn't a standard. So two different things. There's a quality in having a standard, keeping that rope tight. All right, Lee, what do we got here?
We mentioned this one before. This is just kind of the latest rendition of the fixture base plates and how we went ahead and labeled the cross members on the table. We labeled the holes in the fixture. We labeled what side of the table the fixture needs to go on. So somebody can now follow SOP and it'll tell them exactly where that fixture needs to go on the table, what holes to align with what table to put it on. So it should make it fairly seamless.
Rather, what happens if it's one hole off?
Could crash the robot.
Okay, so, yeah, slight quality difference there, right? But this just makes it simple. And ultimately, that's Anybody could do it. Even I could walk over there and at least I'd know how to mount the fixture. It's pretty obvious. Okay, this was two different people. Lee, what do you got on the left there?
That's just, one of the goals and, within our department, serving our customers. And then the other one below is just our Kamichi by board that we started with our daily and weekly tasks. We haven't really fully built it out yet, but we've got a few things on there.
And when I asked Casey about, you know, what did he see as improvements, and he mentioned what's on the right here.
The same thing with each by board on that's the Lismac. I told Pete yesterday, we would normally do maintenance when a machine goes down. And we would always lose time because of that. Sometimes prices seem to do, sometimes it's more than a day. It's a big laser. With these each by boards, we stay on top of the maintenance. It hasn't been long enough to see this yet, but you shouldn't end those downtimes because we're not waiting until twice as long as something big or that maintenance point. So it should save us a lot of time, a lot of slack in the road. Keep it on the machine back.
Okay. And at the time of this picture, how are we doing?
That one shows that every gas is still needs to be done.
Okay. Hopefully, by the end of the day, the daily ones. were
Right.
green.
You might have taken that on Monday morning.
No, I took it yesterday.
Well, yes, it was Tuesday. Yeah. Yeah.
Tuesday.
Plenty of days to get those
Yeah.
daily tasks.
But those should jump out to you and you should say, hey,
Right, well, and to clarify too, the daily ones should have been flipped red first thing that morning. So they were-
good. Maybe Lee just left his green on purpose for my picture. Kevin, what do we have on the left here?
So on the left is kind of our fluids and chemicals cabinet over at the shop that has been kind of just a big catch-all disaster for a long time. So I've been spending some time going through, kind of sorting out what's in there. And like that second shelf, you can see there, they're all real irregular size bottles and kind of miscellaneous size things. So I laid it out in a way where they have a general area in the cabinet rather than an individual bin that they sit in like on top. It just makes it immensely easier to go to that cabinet and not only see what you need, but get it, use it quickly and efficiently, and then know where it goes back.
Exactly. Alex on the right.
Oh yeah, that's all our cordless power tools next door that we use when we're prototyping or installing anything. And everything was kind of just bunched up and crammed up against the wall before, and nothing really had even in the pile, we didn't have a location for anything. They kind of just went where they fit and push them as far back as you could so you could have that swipe off the top of the toolbox. And their batteries are all underneath them now, so not only are they all hung up and off so you can keep the tool bench clean, but there's been like an added benefit of, you know, turning them all around so they're all facing. You don't have to walk all the way up from wherever you're at to see what's available or what's there. I mean, you can see
Which one's a half inch, which one's a 3/8? You can't tell until you move them. Now you
Yeah.
can. And then in the process of you do one thing and then it gives you ideas for the next. So Kevin, what was our next idea?
Well, there's actually two things here. One I've been thinking about as I look at that image on the left is my funnels that are just kind of like tossed in a box down there on the bottom. I surely can think of a better way to kind of make those quickly accessible moving forward long term. But Pete and I talked yesterday about that photo on the right and getting labels now on each individual tool slot, kind of so that you can see when one's been removed, what tool goes back there, and also what tool is missing based on the label.
So good. These are all really good things that it is obvious when something's out of place. And that is a process that we've been working towards. Powder coat. They haven't gotten a lot of shout outs. So Travis, tell me about what we're seeing here.
So in those photos right there, basically you're just seeing the organization that we've been working, cleaning up the wires that we have going everywhere. Obviously inside the paint booth, we're still working on, but the shelves and outside just looking really good.
How do you know when you're done?
Never done.
You're never done. Exactly, because We're constantly improving. This will create room for the next improvement and the next improvement and the next improvement. So I wanted to use some bad American colors here, and we all need to work to keep the rope tight. We need to use SOPs that we have been developing to continue to improve what we have developed. Sort, and refine our standards. We have QR codes for bending something on the brake press. We have QR codes for many things. If we feel like, hey, we know it all, we don't need to look. I just did this last week. Is that following the standard? Refresh yourself, look over those. You miss something. If we know how to make a box, and then we tell somebody else how to make a box, and we abort the standard, then what have we done? Let the rope go limp. We don't want to do that.
No, that's what we, shout out to Bryce also, I missed this one earlier, making his first SOP on Gemma Docs yesterday. He made something for Lee to follow to help us get on board with the new software that we're using for nesting. But to tag onto that, me and Joe have been doing it. I mean, everybody's been doing it, but me and Joe, like, if anyone asks you a question, like everyone's learning the Epicor stuff upstairs for engineering now. And if I've been asked a question, I'm like, I'm not even gonna answer you for a second. Give me 15 minutes and I'm gonna make an SOP and then we can talk about it. Cause it's like that one time that you do that, you save all the times in the future. I mean, if you need comments, you need to update the SOP, but I've like eliminated conversations in the past couple of weeks just by as soon as somebody asks me something, it's like, give me 10 minutes. Because it's literally that fast. So,
Well, it's that, 10 minutes now, but in the future, it's always gonna be the same.
Yep.
So,
That's what I said to Lee when he was training Terry. I said, make SOPs for it. He was like, I don't have time to make SOPs. I said, so you have time to go to your office and walk down 4 times to show him the same thing? And he was like, all right, I got it.
yeah, and it seems like you don't have time, but how much time is gonna be invested in correcting Lee or Terry, and then the next person that Terry trains, and you're gonna stray away, and yeah, if you have a standard, we need to stick to the standard, so.
Hey, Pete, real quick, I think another thing about these standards is, the further we get down the path of continuous improvement and always looking for things, it's, a lot of the low hanging fruit stuff start to go away, right? So I think people being grounded in the standards and following and doing those things every day will also create opportunities where you might be able to make the process a little bit more efficient by pulling a little time out or changing a step here, removing a step, and making that step a little bit differently. So just another reason to follow this.
There should be a communication too. So if you do make an update to a standard, you need to communicate that with the people that you work with so that they're aware that there has been an update to the standard. Because the idea isn't that you just pull this paper up every time and work this paper every time, right? If you educate yourself in the standard, you can do the standard. But if you make it so rigid that's like, use your right hand to hold this bolt, and somebody else is more comfortable using their left hand, they're never going to follow your standard, right? It's more like guidelines of how to do the process, right? So in an SOP, it should be like outward facing. So you should be able to do the work, and we should be able to look at the standard and see that you're following the standard. You're not necessarily being guided by the standard every time once you're aware of the standard. So if you do make a change to the standard, it should be communicated, right? And if you make a big change to a standard, you should have a discussion with your whole department about your idea before making that change, just so that it's not just a waste of time for everybody on that. So just kind of keep that in mind as those standards evolve, that it's going to become a little more complex for us internally on how we interact with each other.
Any other thoughts? So the most important thing that I want you guys to learn is no one wants a limp rope. Any questions?
What do you mean, brother?
Yeah.
Good job, Pete.
Good job. Good job.
Yeah, Pete.
Tomorrow, Landon on one piece flow. All right, I guess off to the next stage of the day. Thanks, guys.
You like Pete.
Yeah, right.
Dan, we're gonna clean off.
It's been nice not seeing.